Welcome back to My Time. I am Daniel Tension, joined as always by my good friend Zach Sayre. How you doing tonight, Zach?
I'm doing great, Big Dan. How are you doing? First off,
Pretty excited. Pretty
yeah,
excited. Pretty
yeah, I'm
special
excited as well.
episode here.
Got a big the big guest joining us tonight. Our biggest guest to date, national champion at 157 pounds, Ryan Deakin from Northwestern. So it's going to be a great evening. Going to be an awesome interview here. So
I'm excited.
Real quick, I'd like to give a big shout out to our sponsors, Chain Wrestling. Chain Wrestling, join the chain. Created by athletes for athletes, cultivated for the uncommon, apparel for the everyday grind. Shout out to Grant and Ethan there and everything going on at Chain Wrestling. You can get your Chain Wrestling apparel at chainwrestling.co. You can get your Mat Time gear under the partner tab, hoodies, beanies, stickers, mugs, anything you like. Like I said, head over to Mat Time now to get that. So,
Yeah,
with that being said,
since I found my beanie, I haven't taken it off.
With that being said, let's introduce our guest here and get things rolling.
Yeah, we're here with Ryan Deakin. How you doing tonight, Ryan?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Doing wonderful, man.
Living the dream.
Awesome.
We can't thank you enough for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here. So how's life been since being crowned champ?
Yeah, no, it's been really, really cool. It's been a lot of fun. Been kind of soaking it in and hanging out with some family and friends, and then now trying to figure out my next steps and getting back into training here. So that's been fun too.
Yeah, you had a monster career there at Northwestern, man. Just 3-time Big Ten champ, finished it off with a national title. So kind of tell us your story of what got you to Northwestern to begin with.
Yeah, I was looking into colleges, getting recruited in high school and stuff. And one of my best friends growing up, his dad was a 4-time All-American from Northwestern. So Mike Funk, he still had a relationship with the head coach at the time, Drew Periano. And so they would do camps at my high school just about every year. And then there's one year, my buddy and I went out to Northwestern to do a camp out in Northwestern in the summer. And so I kind of always knew about the school and kind of had that connection and knew the coaches a little bit. And then once started, wrestling more national tournaments and getting recruited and taking visits, it was, I came out here on my visit and just kind of fell in love with it and decided it was a place for me.
Well, it's a great school, both athletically and academically. And aren't you a grad student, right?
Yeah, so I did a master's program last year. So I got my master's of science and management studies last year. And then this year I did a grad certificate in specialized studies. So this year was really nice. It was really, really short. I only had 4 classes. So I had 3 in the fall, 1 in the winter. And I finished school the Friday of nationals. So I'm done with school. Yeah.
Nice. That was a really nice weekend for you.
Yeah,
that's
good time there.
Better.
Timed up really well.
Yes, it did. You spoke on your high school career, and it's now listen. I got to know what's your walking around weight.
I mean, so it depends, I guess, what time of the year it is, and what tournaments we're getting ready for and stuff. But anywhere from low 70s to high 60s, probably usually, maybe a little over that if there's really not a lot of competitions coming up or if lifting a lot more, but usually try not to get too over my weight class.
Yeah. Well, you looked considerably bigger than most of your competition at 57. So I'm kind of surprised how low it was. But what I found interesting was you started high school at 106.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it was definitely like a late bloomer, I guess. I hit puberty kind of late, I guess, and wrestled 106, 113, 126, and 138. So I started college at 149, and then after a redshirt year and my first year of actually competing at 149, it was just my body was too big for it, so went up.
Yeah, funny story. Like so, you asked your weight there. We had a graphic put out, kind of teasing who the special guest would be, and people were guessing wrestlers that they wrestle like 84 or 97. So that's kind of a testament to show how big you look there. You know,
funny.
even when you're on the mat. So I just thought that was funny. But yeah, so from Legacy High School, right? Or is
Yep.
that an academy or
No, Legacy High School.
high school? Okay, cool.
Yep.
Okay.
So after Big Ten's into that dead 10 days or so, 2 weeks almost before nationals, what's kind of the prep? What's the prep for getting yourself ready for such a big tournament and that downtime?
I honestly, it's staying sharp and it's a lot of mental prep more than anything. It's kind of tough. You're all season you're grinding. Trying to doing more workouts, getting extra conditioning, extra lifts, extra cardio, extra drills. In that time, it's like you're trying to be real efficient with your workouts, short, intense practices, and then you taper really hard. So I think less is more during that time. And it's kind of weird because the whole year you're pushing and it's kind of like a hold yourself back a little bit so you're fresh for this tournament. And so it's like, being real disciplined with your diet, with your sleep, making sure you're living your life right, getting outside stressors out. So yeah, it's a weird week. It's kind of like you almost feel like every day you're like, I got some more in the tank, but you need to kind of hold yourself back and make sure you're not doing too much and you're really feeling good.
Yeah, I couldn't even possibly imagine coming out of the Big Tens, which is by far the toughest conference tournament in the country, and then head straight into the meat grinder of the NCAA's. I mean, I mean, your mental prep has got to be everything, like you said. That's a good answer, man. That's exactly what I'd expect the national champ to say. And you kept saying extra, 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 extra throughout the whole season. So, like, how much extra did you put in?
Yeah, I think honestly, it's a really cool environment. At Northwestern, there's a lot of teammates doing it, so it seems pretty normal. But it's it's like every morning, just about every morning, you're doing something extra. Whether that's we're lifting, you're staying trying to lift a couple days a week in season, maintain your muscle mass. Maybe you're doing a technique and drill session with a coach. Maybe you're doing some cardio, weight management, or some conditioning. Maybe that looks like you wake up and you're doing some yoga and you're stretching and working on some mobility or some extra film before practice. And so I think there's a lot of stuff like that. And over the course of a year, I think that stuff really adds up and stacks on
Oh,
top.
absolutely. Yeah.
So
Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
and I think mentally it helps you a lot too. You're real confident by the end of the year because you know how many hours you put in, and you can't like fake that. You can't lie to yourself about how much you prepared. So when you really know that you prepared and you feel prepared, I think it helps you walk out on that mat confident and ready to wrestle.
Well, you were definitely ready to wrestle. I thought your finals match was just tremendous.
Thank
Uh,
you.
yeah, I mean, impressive weekend. And we mentioned before we went live here or started recording that you actually wrestled one of the three guys in the bracket from West Virginia,
Yeah.
Josh Humphreys from Lehigh, and he had some nice things to say about you to his family after. Uh, it didn't go well for him, but it was definitely a pretty solid match for you. He's very complimentary. He said you were very strong, and then after hearing your in-season prep, it makes sense that you held on such strength throughout the entire season.
Yeah, I think I've wrestled him a couple times. I think I wrestled him at nationals. Gosh, it would have been 3 years ago, maybe. I think so. In the blood rounds, my redshirt sophomore year, I think.
Possibly, I can't
Yeah,
remember who Humphreys
that's
drew there.
that kind of ties into something I want to ask you, Ryan. So I mean, you've been at this for quite some time. Obviously, as a grad student this year, and you had the extra year of eligibility granted. For you individually, was it an easy decision to come back for that extra year, or did you ever have to go back and forth and kind of think like, if you wanted to continue, or if you wanted, because we saw a lot of people walk away, after everything the last couple of years, and try to move on to other things. Was that an easy decision for you to come back, or
Yeah, no, I think that's a good question. I'd love to tell you it was like I'm coming back. It was really easy. Quite honestly, it was something I struggled with a little bit.
Mhm.
It was the COVID year was really weird. It was like, I mean, I wrestled 2 duels before Big Tens and nationals last year. Just some medical stuff, and was kind of forced to sit most of an already shortened season.
Mhm.
Um, and then, I fell short of my goals that year. And then, you kind of feel this pressure of like, hey, I need to grow up. It's time to
Yeah.
like get to the real world. Um, but I think I have a lot of good mentors, good teammates, good friends, good coaches in my life, and I think kind of leaning on them and finding some perspective and really realizing like, hey, I want to keep wrestling anyways. Why wouldn't I take another year of college? And I think that once I realized like I'm loving what I'm doing every day, why would I
Mhm.
change that if I
Yeah.
had another year? I got the rest of my life to work. It was an easy decision, but I
Mhm.
think,
That you said
yeah.
it there. You got the rest of your life, young man. You
Yeah.
got the rest of
Well,
your
that
life.
and that obviously, paid off well for you there.
Yeah, and
So,
and like I think it's easy to say this because it worked out for me, but
mhm.
I felt like this year was such a great year, regardless of what happened at the end of the
Mhm.
year. It was such a fun year. I didn't have as much school stress as the first year. Like it was, my school program was a lot easier. I had to spend a lot of time with friends, with my girlfriend, with teammates on the road. I learned a lot, and it was just like I could really enjoy it. It felt like a normal year again, and
Yeah.
it was really special. And my whole family was at nationals. It was a really cool year. I was really glad. I felt like going into nationals, I was like, my heart was full. It wasn't like I was obviously wanting a national title and going for a
Mhm.
national title, but I was like, I was just grateful for the sport and getting another
Mhm.
year.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well said. Well said. Now that it's over, you're looking back at your career and you've capped it off with a national title. Uh, we got a lot of wrestlers, especially from our area, that tune into what we do. What would you go back and tell yourself as a high schooler to get yourself recruited, to get your name out there? Like what did you do right, and what would you maybe tell yourself to do a little differently had you been able to do it again?
Doing in high school or in college.
Like, what would you now go tell the high school Ryan Deacon as he was starting his journey to be a collegiate champion?
I think first thing is like sit down and enjoy it sometimes. You got to smell the roses a little bit. I think it was always, on to the next thing. Um, and I think I had a lot better perspective this year, but it goes fast. And, I was here 6 years, but it was, it was quick. I think, find the people that you can trust and that your teammates and your coaches that work well with you, and trust into that, and just realize like every day showing up with a positive attitude and consistency stacks up over time. I think wrestling's a sport where there's so many highs and lows, and so keeping it being having good perspective on it and not letting the highs get too high or the lows get too low, is a really big deal. And then really lean into learning more about nutrition, recovery, training. I think that stuff, you learn about it and you take it seriously. But I think definitely as like a freshman, was definitely doing a lot of things wrong, from cutting weight to um, recovering and stuff like that. So I think it's stuff that maybe you got to kind of trial by fire and learn as you go. But if I, knowing what I know now, I wish I would have spent some more time on the front end, figuring that out. And then I think taking care of school. I think I saw a lot of teammates early on, um, medically retire, and they were phenomenal wrestlers, and just there's a certain day that something happened and they could never wrestle again. So, and they're doing awesome things now because they stuck out with school, and they were able to, they were always taking that seriously. And so I think I was really grateful to have some good leaders and good mentors and teammates growing up, especially right when I got to college, that kind of set that example for me. So I wasn't, messing around, and I wasn't, not you see it, some older guys getting an extra workout. You're like, hey, I'm gonna do that, and so I think that's I don't know. That's a long-winded way to say, I guess, what I learned.
Well, it was a very you did well right there. You said that very well. You're wise beyond your years, young man.
Thank you.
Like you say, you figured it out when you said that earlier that you kind of got it figured out. You have like you're ready for the real world, but like we said, don't rush into it.
Yeah.
Like, you got plenty of time for that. So what's next? Like, have you sat down long enough to think about, like, are you going to try some senior level stuff? Are you going to maybe
Yeah.
just get back, enjoy, and coach? Like, what's your goals now?
Yeah. I think my goals, winning world and Olympic titles.
That's awesome.
So I'm gonna wrestle freestyle. Getting ready for world team trials. I'm taking a couple visits, some RTCs, trying to figure out what the best training option is for me going forward. And so I'm not sure what that's gonna look like yet, but yeah, trying to get some consistent training in right now and take a little bit of time to make some decisions after that to figure out my next steps.
Oh, that's exciting to hear.
Yeah.
I'm glad that I mean, as a fan of the sport, I love hearing that you're still going to go out there and compete because that's another good one for Team USA, in my opinion. So,
Thank you. Thank you.
yeah, I'm excited to hear it. Once you get some of that hardware from the international scene, you can come back.
Wait, I will.
You can tell us how all that went and how different that is than all the folk style stuff in college. It'll be
For sure. We'll do.
another episode with Ryan Deakin.
There we go.
You got anything else for him, Zach?
I don't think so. Like I said, we don't want to take up all of your evening there. But like I said, we're very appreciative of you coming on. I can't thank you enough. What size shirt are you, Ryan? We'll mail you a Mad Time shirt if we can get a picture of you out there later
Awesome,
on.
for
So
sure. Yeah, large. Thank you.
large,
Appreciate
okay. All right, yeah, we'll get you taken
See,
care of.
large makes sense. I thought you were trying to throw a medium at me there. No,
I grew out of
still
that.
believe it's low 170s. I don't believe it.
That's funny.
Yeah, well, we appreciate you coming on, and we appreciate everybody for joining us. As always, I'm Daniel Tinch.
And I'm Zach Sayre. You guys have a good one.